Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and an addict living in the miracle of one day at a time recovery, and I'm just grateful to be here today. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions and afflictions organization dedicated to exploring the common threads of the differing manifestations of alcoholism, sharing your tools, offering hope from those walking a similar path. So whether your thing is alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, food, whatever, you are home here. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn from and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences, demonstrating the universal principles of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. This is Rico 12 speaker meeting number 432. Thank you for joining us live or on the recording later. Today's speaker is Margie F., a first-time Rico 12 speaker, and I'm excited to hear from her. She will be speaking on a topic that she's entitled Surrendering to and Loving and Serving a Loving God. I look forward to diving into this conversation here in a few minutes, but first a few quick announcements. Rico 12 offers a variety of recovery resources, including podcasts and social media communities. To explore more, you can visit our website at rico12.com. That's RECO12.com, and check the chat and the show notes for links. We are always looking for speakers to share on Rico 12, and we're continuing to fill out speakers through May and June and into July. So if your higher power is moving you to share, please consider reaching out to me, and we'll get it lined up here in the near future. Starting today, the Afro-Euro Rico 12 speaker meeting changed its live recording time to noon UK time. So instead of 8 a.m. UK time, it's now noon UK time every Friday, and that makes it 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. South Africa and Israel time. So if you're in those time zones and want to join in a live meeting at that time, jump in there. Lisa S. is doing an amazing job getting great speakers and making it a little bit more available to people in those time zones and even for us in the U.S. That info is shared in the emails and the WhatsApp group. If you aren't on those lists, get on that email list. We'll get you some links to meetings that we do and some information that we have coming along. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us continue this message. For information on how to do that, I'll put some things in the chat here. It's in the show notes of the podcast. You can go to rico12.com/support to contribute if your higher power is moving on you to do that. Thank you this week to Jem for becoming a monthly Spearhead contributor. So grateful for you, Jem. Any support, both financially and by word of mouth, truly makes a difference in helping us share these messages of hope and recovery. Each week, we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experience brings hope, meaning, worth, and growth to us, the listeners. Now I'm going to welcome today's guest, Margie F., and share just a little bit about her before turning the floor over to her. It was about 14 years ago when someone finally told Margie that she was a sex addict. She had been caught in another adultery affair and was only willing to stop because of the fear of losing her marriage. She went to therapy with an addiction counselor, but did not enter the rooms. Shortly after, Margie was diagnosed with cancer and thought that she was cured. Little did she know that her disease was just smoldering. In 2019, her world fell apart when her husband was diagnosed with an uncurable cancer. Margie's disease came back with a vengeance, and she was unable to stop this time around. She entered the rooms with the beautiful gift of desperation and listened intently to her sponsor and began to work the steps vigorously. Slowly but surely, the insanity began to disappear. A slow spiritual awakening was beginning, and her relationship with her God grew so much deeper than ever before. Margie's love and desire to be obedient and serve God gives her more joy than she ever felt possible. Not only has God restored her to himself, he has also reconciled and restored her marriage and her relationship with her adult children. Margie says, quote, "I am truly grateful for the steps and for this program where I can just live one day at a time." Take it away, Margie. The floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you all so much for being here. It is truly a privilege and honor to be here on Rico 12. So with that, before I head on into a little bit of my story, let's go ahead and once again, let's go to our higher power. I call my higher power God. So whoever your higher power is, let's go ahead and let's go to him and ask him to be here present with us in this meeting. Dear God, I just set aside everything that I think, everything that I know of you, everything that I know of the 12 steps of recovery. And I give it all to you. I give this meeting to you. I give my words to you. I pray that my words are glorifying and edifying you. Thank you, God. All right. So, is our higher power, God, really enough for our lives? That's the question that I would really like us to share and talk about today. Is God really enough? And is he worth us giving up our disease for? I am a recovering lust addict, sex addict. My sponsor took me through the 12 steps through the big book as they are written. And I can boldly and safely say and share that working these steps, I have had a spiritual awakening. While it was a slow and not a quick one by any means, there definitely was several spiritual awakenings. I know in the big book, it talks about some people have had a very quick spiritual awakening. Some people have a slow one. I was definitely one of those slow ones and sometimes pouting that I was not having it quick enough, which is part of my disease, my selfishness. So a quick really share to go a little bit more deeper about me and my disease. I've been a lust sex addict probably for most of my life. I would say about close to 30 years. I was introduced to lust at a very young age, around the age of 4 or 5. And through those years, it would just progressively become worse. I've never been in a relationship where I was faithful. I've always had an acting out partner on the side. Sometimes it was one, sometimes it was several, but I was never faithful in any of my relationships. Even when I met my husband, I thought surely I wouldn't cheat on him. Surely I won't cheat when I'm married. Little did I know that I was completely wrong about that. I had several adulterous affairs during my marriage. In 2011, as Justin had shared, is when someone finally told me that I was a sex addict. And I felt shocked, but sometimes somewhat yet relieved as well, knowing that I finally had an answer to my problem. I thought, okay, if I have the self knowledge, I'm an addict, I can fix myself. Well, the big book tells us we can have all the self knowledge and not be fixed. And I was definitely that. Shortly after getting into therapy, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Once again, I thought, yep, this is it. I am cured. I am never going to act out again. This is what I needed. Yeah, little did I know that I would be the furthest thing from the truth. Fast forward again, life 2019, when my husband was diagnosed with an incurable cancer. His life expectancy was 5 to 7 years, and my world came crashing down. While I was focused on care and treatment for him, my disease began to grow deep inside with me and began to fester in ways that I didn't even think it could. I thought it was saying to myself, surely I cannot cheat on my dying husband. You can't. No sane person would do that. Well, I'm not sane. My disease puts me in insanity. And sure enough, I did cheat multiple times. 2021, I entered into another adulterous affair and I crossed boundaries that I never said that I would. When the affair was discovered, I tried to deny all of it, but realized I actually had no way out. In 2022 is when I entered into a rehab place for women only, where I discovered these rooms in a sexual rehab center down in Tennessee. And that's where I discovered about Sexaholics Anonymous. And that gratefully and forever would change my life. I found a sponsor quickly. I began to work the steps and I've been working the steps and then slowly changed my life. So let's go ahead and let's dive in and discuss the AA Big Book promises. I love the AA Big Book promises. We're going to start on page 73 with the step 5 promises. So this is after we've done the hard work of step 4. And those that have worked at the steps, we know how joyous and wonderful step 4 is, getting to the nitty gritty and ugliness of all of our ickiness. I know I thoroughly loved it. I'm sure everybody else does, said no recovering addict whatsoever. So we went ahead, we did that step, and then we're sharing it with somebody. We're sharing it with our sponsor, and we're sharing all the nooks and the crannies. We are the step 5 promise tells us that once we have illuminated our twist of characters, every dark cranny of our past, withholding nothing, we are delighted that we can be alone and at perfect peace and ease. We will feel the nearness. It tells us that we will feel the nearness of our Creator, and we need to keep our minds dependent on God. That's where I learned that how important it is to keep our minds connected with our higher power. And for me, like I said, my higher power is God. That is what the nearness and the perfect peace comes in. And it's trusting in a loving and grateful and joyful God. This is one of the many spiritual experiences that I had and will have as I walk through my steps. We also get to know when we're done sharing that, we get to thank God. We thank Him for getting to know Him better. We get to thank Him for being kind, for loving, for being almighty, for always being there for us. We get to have a grateful and thankful heart. God wants all of our pieces. He wants all of our brokenness, all of our character defects. He wants our anger. He wants our hurt. He is a God that is big enough that He can handle it all, and He won't shy away from us. He doesn't want us to come as perfect humans because we're not perfect. He wants us to come in our brokenness, because when we come to Him in our brokenness, that's when He can allow to do the work and to do the healing that needs to be done. Page 83 in the big book talks about the promises that we will have as we work the steps. We will now know a new freedom, a new happiness, and we will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will know peace, we will know serenity, and we will see that our experience can help and benefit others. We will lose the selfish things like lust. We'll lose the selfish things of drugs. We'll lose the selfish of alcohol, gambling, eating, whatever it is. We will lose all of that, and we will be able to serve others. And more importantly, we're going to be able to serve our God. God begins to do for us what we never could, because we were selfish. We were self-centered. I was selfish. I was self-centered, and I was all about what can benefit me. Talking about, the perfect peace and the serenity of God. And sometimes I know when I came into the rooms, there was a lot of shame that I had and a lot of guilt of the affairs and the acting out behaviors and the choices that I had made. And come to know that who knew that sharing those stories and getting that out, I'm able to share it with other women. And to know that there's other women out there that are like me is really a beautiful thing, to know that I'm not alone and there's nothing wrong with me. Like, I struggle with the disease like everybody else in these rooms, and it's okay. God doesn't shy from that. God doesn't say, "Oh, you're too ugly for that." God says, "Bring it to me and let me continue to work on you and make you whole." And I'm thankful for that now. I don't shy away from my past. I'm open about my past, because who knows how God is going to use it? Who knows how God is going to share with me speaking or talking to someone, whether it's in a meeting or privately or whatever. Who knows how God is going to use that? By me being vulnerable and open about my story allows God to use it in ways that I could never even imagine possible. And I may see it and I may never see it. And that's okay, because I know that I'm being obedient to Him and I'm serving Him and sharing my story. Steps 8 and 9 talks about practicing forgiveness. Yeah, that's a hard one. Most of us, me, a lot of the times, we don't want to forgive. We've been done wrong. We have been hurt, and we do not want to forgive by any means. But forgiveness only holds us in bondage. By not forgiving others, it is only holding us in the cage. I like to think of it as like an animal in a cage. That the animal is not meant to be caged. It's meant to roam and be free. And when we don't extend that forgiveness that needs to be extended, it holds us captive. It holds us in resentment. It holds us in fear. It holds us in bondage. And that's not good. That's not what God wants for us by any means. And so the only person we're holding by not forgiving is ourselves. We're only hurting ourselves. Forgiveness is a choice. It is not a feeling. We can choose to forgive. And And just because we choose to forgive doesn't mean we have to allow that person into our life, doesn't mean that we have to have reconciliation and restoration by any means. Once again, choosing to forgive is a choice and it's not a feeling. It talks about that in the white book on page 125. Practicing forgiveness and what we think of other people. We say it out loud that we forgive every person on our list. When we've done our list, we forgive every single person. And we keep on forgiving them every time resentment comes up. Every time we think about the hurt that they've done, we continue to forgive them. We say it out loud. Nope, I have chosen to forgive you. I know I had to do that for several years with my mom. There were things that my mom had done when growing up that I did not appreciate that affected me, as with most parents. And so I remember God saying, you need to forgive her. You only know what you know, and she only knows what she knows. And so I didn't want to forgive her. Are you kidding me? I wanted to continue to hold her into bondage and torment her and hate on her. Well, the only person it was harming was myself. She had no clue that I had all this pent up anger and rage towards her. So once I chose to forgive, and having to constantly have that reminder, no, I chose to forgive her because something would happen, something would come up, and I would want to, flare it all up again. No, I chose to forgive her. That resentment and that anger and that hatred finally went away, and I could see her as God sees her, as a loving child, as a child that he wants to be in relationship with as well. And so the choice was done, and then years later, the feelings followed. And that was something that my sponsor would always share with me. She's like, just because you have a feeling doesn't mean you have to act on it. You could have your feelings. You're allowed to have your feelings. You're allowed to feel them, but you don't have to act on them. The willingness and the gift of forgiveness will come if we continue to persist in doing the action. I also can fall into the world of discontentment. Discontentment can be a core issue within me. Looking up the word discontentment, it is also a distrust in God. I know there were several times in my life that I didn't trust God, that I didn't think that what he was doing was best, that I thought I knew what was better for me. I knew what I needed. I knew what was best. And working through the steps, I discovered that no, I don't know what is best. It is my higher power. It is my God who absolutely knows what is best for me. He sees the whole picture. He knows the beginning and the end and all the little details in between. And I only see a very small piece of what that is. So looking and digging deeper into discontentment is at its core, and at its core is a sneaky piece of pride. It implies that we deserve and we know better than our God, and our discontentment is also twofold. We become distracted from God, and we begin to believe the lie that our disease has more to offer to us than what God has to offer us. Our disease, my disease, has a sneaky way of telling me to doubt God's goodness all the time. I long for satisfaction. I long for to look in all the wrong directions: lust, alcohol, drugs. I long to belong. I need fellowship. I was created for fellowship and to be a part of a group and to be a part of a family and to be a part of a people group. God did not meant for us to be alone, and nor does he want us to be alone. And then my heart can become divided when we think of our disease when it's still within us. Yet my disease still leaves me empty and alone. God doesn't want me to have a divided heart. And God alone is the one that fills all of my desires. He wants me and he wants us to know that we are created by him. We are created for him. And God is fully for me. Like, he loves me and he loves all of us in a way that we can't fathom. It's not like loving a spouse or a child or friends or whatever. His love for us is on such a deeper plane that our finite minds truly cannot fathom. We may also, sometimes I would also think, well, I want to get what I want. I want this house. I want this car. I want these clothes or whatever it may be. And I know there have been a multitude of times that I would throw the tantrums that I wasn't getting what I wanted. And thank goodness I didn't always get what I wanted, because God's way was so much better than I ever could have imagined. During my acting out, before I came into the rooms with my adulterous affair, I was asking God to take my husband's life. I was asking him to end his life sooner than later. My husband was suffering. He was not well. He was not the man that I had married. Um, the, the medications, the treatment took its toll on his body. And I remember crying, God, just rip the Band-Aid off, rip the Band-Aid off, get rid of him, take him home with you so that I can move on. Thank goodness he didn't answer that prayer. Because here I am in recovery, living a joyous and free life and an open and honest life with my husband that I never could have imagined that I could possibly have done. And so I'm thankful that God knows what is best and doesn't always answer what we're asking for. Working through the steps, through the AA, the big book, just helped me show me how incredibly selfish and self-centered I was, and how I still can be. Every now and then my disease will gear up in like that selfishness and self-centeredness, and, oh no, you deserve this, or you should get this. And it's like, no, I don't know. God, I want what you want for me, because you know truly what is best for me. So what distracts us from spending time with God? Some questions to ask. Where do you spend time that is not productive in serving God and serving others? Step 10 and 11 give us the great opportunity to see what we did or didn't do during our daily lives. Simply admitting that we were wrong in an area, becoming angry or over a person's shortcomings with each other, on our own, or with others, is all just a waste of time and energy. We see this also in the 12. It talks about this in the 12 and 12 book as well, on page 92. And we see that being wrong, admitting our wrongs to others, can actually be a beautiful and wonderful gift. If I continue to grow in recovery, which is my purpose, I want to grow in recovery. I want to grow spiritually. I don't want to stay stagnant. I don't want to be in the mediocre of life, because that's not fun. Well, maybe it is sometimes, because life is chaos. But no, really, and seriously, no, it's not. Okay. Anyways, I digress. I want to continue to be sober, but I don't want to be sober. I want to be well. And I need to have that constant connection with my God. It was the distractions of my thoughts and my feelings and not getting my way in what I thought was best that led me down to the road of destruction. A broken marriage, a broken family, and working the steps, especially step 10, helps me consistently see my need for God. I am completely powerless over my disease, and without a doubt, I need God. Two of my core defects are fear of abandonment and fear of not being protected. Even though God has not removed these character defects for me as much as I have prayed and have asked him to, they are a piece of who I am. They don't define me, and they don't own me anymore like they once did. Working the steps have shown me that when these feelings emerge, and unfortunately they still do, when I'm not feeling protected, when I'm feeling abandoned, they still emerge. And I can wholeheartedly feel them, and that's okay. I can wholeheartedly feel them, but I don't have to act on them. I can ask myself, why am I feeling this way? Where is this coming from? What am I seeking elsewhere that I'm not getting, that I should be getting from you, God? Where should I be seeking you What is it that I'm missing? And let me tell you, every time I put away all of that and I focus on him and I ask him to show me what it is that I'm missing, he is kind, he is gracious, and he will reveal it to me. Now, what he always has to say? Nope. But I am grateful that he is kind and gracious and will continue to show me what it is that I need, or where are areas that I need to improve, what I need to forgive, what I need to let go of. And I'm thankful for that. It's coming into these rooms. It has always been, coming into these rooms has shown me, giving me the tools that I've always needed to draw me closer and bring me closer to a loving and powerful God. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap up with the question that I had from the beginning. Is a higher power, God, really enough for our lives? My answer is with a resounding absolutely yes, he is. My desire, my hunger for belonging, for forgiveness, for joy, for peace, for serenity. Oh, what a beautiful gift. Are all met in my relationship with my God and my God alone. The world, my disease will never satisfy me. My disease will tell me over and over again that it will. My disease will tell me that it is enough, but I now know that it is not. My love for God is what satisfies me. My able to trust in him so deeply is worth it for me. And I don't want anything else. I just want God himself, because he is a loving God. He is a perfect God, and he knows what is best for me. And being in these rooms and being in the recovery, I have seen that resoundingly over and over again, just how faithful he has been. Even when I don't get my way, I can later see, okay, you didn't want that for me because you had something better for me. And what you had for me is so much better than I ever could imagine. And so with that, like I said, I resoundingly say yes to God, to serve him, to serve others, to be a tool for him is way better than being in my selfish desires. And with that, I'll pass.
Margie, thank you so much. I really appreciate your share. Good stuff. I'm grateful to have heard a bit more of your story and your relationship with your God. That's awesome. A reminder to our live audience, if you have a question for Margie based on what she shared or about recovery, please type it in the chat. If you would like to remain anonymous, in other words, if you don't want me to read your first name, send me a direct message or put anonymous, please, in the question that you put in the chat. I've written down a ton of questions, and I'm excited to get to some of the things that we've got here. Now, Margie, the first question I'd like to do is kind of go back a little bit. I mean, God has become this being that you can say, yes, absolutely strong enough, is absolutely loving enough that I can turn my will and my life over to God. What was your perspective and perception of God before you came into recovery? What did you think of God at that point?
Yeah, I very much felt like it needed to be a transactional approach. If I do this, you do that. If you do this, I do that. There wasn't that open. I knew I could go to him, but I just always felt like it had to be a transaction. I had to be put together. I had to, do something for you. I know when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, the anger that I had towards God was like, how could you? How dare you? After everything that I've done for you, this is what you give me. And so there was a lot of anger towards God, which I didn't even know that I had until coming into the rooms and working the steps.
Yeah, you talked about in your talk about forgiving. You've got to forgive others because all it's doing is hurting you. What does this sound like to you? Did you have to forgive God, and what does that look like in your experience?
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely did have to forgive God. And I had to forgive myself too, as well. And that was like, that just sounds like an oxymoron thing, that you have to forgive God for, being the almighty, the all powerful. He doesn't need our forgiveness. He does not need that whatsoever. He's the creator of the world. He's the creator of the universe and all that. But in order for me to have a solid, loving relationship with God, I had to forgive him. And then I had to forgive myself for putting him in such a box and for being so angry with him, and just how unbelievably selfish, because I wasn't getting my way, and recognizing that his ways are so much better than our ways. So yeah, that was a tough one to actually forgive God. That I remember having to do that in step 4 with my sponsor, and yeah, it was not easy, but I'm glad that I did.
No, I absolutely believe it. And, I want to sit here on this forgiveness here for just a minute. You talked about, well, forgiving God. You talked about forgiving your mother. Was there another person that you felt was just absolutely unforgivable that for whatever reason you were like, okay, I guess I'm going to practice this and give it a shot of forgiving this person and doing it over and over and over again, like you talked about, and finding freedom in that process? Are you willing to share something like that?
Yeah. It wasn't just my mother. I had to forgive a handful of family members for harm that I had done. I also had to forgive the institution of CPS, Child Protection Services. Part of my story that I didn't share here is that I was removed from my home for false allegations of sexual abuse. And so I lived in the foster care system for 2 years. So I had to forgive the system because the system was broken, and they took me away from my dad, who was my world. And so that was, once again, that was really hard. It was an action. I had to constantly choose to forgive them. I had to constantly choose to forgive the social workers. I had to choose to forgive family members. I had to choose to forgive um, living a military life. This was not, my husband is retired military, and I wasn't going to live that life. I wanted nothing to do with it. And then that was another area of God that I had to forgive. It's that he put me in this military life that I wanted nothing to do with. But little did I know that it was an absolute beautiful thing, because the amount of friends and family that we now have from that was far greater than I ever could have imagined, and healthier for me to get away from some of my family members.
Awesome. Thank you, Margie. And we have at least one more question about forgiveness here. This one comes from our live audience. This is from Dave. Dave says, I love your perspective about forgiveness being a choice. I find that statement to be so powerful. Was this perspective that developed did this perspective develop quickly after working the steps, or was it more of an evolution?
It was definitely more of an evolution. That is for sure. It was. I remember my sponsor telling me, she's like, "Okay, so you need to make that choice to forgive." No, no, no. And she was just like, "No, no. We are going to say it right now. I forgive my mother." And I said it, but I didn't mean it. I didn't feel it. So when I would do my daily check-ins with my sponsor, we would have to talk about the people that I needed to forgive, and I would have to say it out loud to her. I forgive so and so. I forgive the CPS system. I forgive God. And it was not easy. So it was definitely an evolution. It was not quick. So there were some people that I was very able to quickly to forgive. Absolutely, because they were children too. They didn't know any better. So I was able to forgive them much quicker. And so eventually the feelings followed of when I said, "Hey, I forgive you." I actually meant that I truly did forgive you too. And I felt it in my heart, because if God can forgive me and he can forgive others, who am I to say that I can't forgive you? I'm not God. That puts me in power and that puts me in control. And I don't want power and I don't want control. So I don't want that. I don't want that control anymore. I thought I had it before and I don't want it. So it was definitely slowly in evolution too. So if God can forgive, there's no reason why I can't forgive either.
Yeah, thank you so much, Margie. All right, I'm going to shift the direction of this just a little bit now with this next question. A lot of the women who are Rico 12 speakers, followers, whatever, from my perception, from my conversations with them, identify more as like love addicts, sex and love addicts. You identified as a lust and sex addict. Can you talk to us just a little bit about maybe the difference or your understanding of what that looks like in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So lust is the core of my disease. Lust is my disease. Fantasizing, being thinking about things that are not reality. Um, Thinking that, okay, if I was with this person, it would be better. love to me is something. So in one of my main meetings that I go to, what I lack is intimacy. Into me you see, and lust blocks me from that. And true love and real love allows to be intimate, not just in a sexual nature, but also in a very personal and vulnerable manner too as well. And love isn't for me, love isn't that way. Love is genuine. Love is real. Love is what comes from God, and lust for me is what's in it for me. What what is best for me. Whereas love is let me serve you. How can I help you? What can I do to make you better? What can I do to help you out? Love is keeping the focus off of myself, where lust keeps the focus on myself for me. And then love is just about serving others and serving God.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform. Yeah, and I like that you talked about intimacy is not just sexual intimacy. One of the phrases from the White Book that you referenced earlier in the phrase is lust killed love.
Mm-hmm.
And removed, well, I'll speak for myself. I had no idea that intimacy could be anything but sexual intimacy. Not a clue. Define for us just a little bit better, or not better, define for us deeper this intimacy that is non-sexual, for example. What does that look like?
Yeah. So I love what it talks about in I think the White Book. What is a sexaholic? What is sexual sobriety? We desire the chemistry, the high, the attention. That's not the wording of it. Lust has become an addiction. Our situation is like that of the alcoholic who can no longer tolerate. That's not it. What I'm looking for either. Anyways, what was your question? Sorry. Side squirrel.
No worries. Diving deeper into the intimacy being more than just sexual intimacy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Intimacy is for me being vulnerable with my husband, being vulnerable with my friends, telling them, the deep dark secrets of my skeleton, and still being loved and still being accepted, and having those tender moments of just sitting with someone, sitting with my husband or my best friend or my kids, my adult children, and I already know what they're thinking and what they're feeling, because there's that intimate connection in us already. Into me, like I can see my husband's facial expression and I can know what that means. I can serve him in ways that I know that will bring him joy, and then that brings me joy too as well. Intimacy is it's that pillow talk. It's that late night pillow talk, your hopes, sharing your dreams, not being judged, not being criticized, just being like, yeah, thanks so much for sharing that with me. How can we make that happen? How can we make those goals happen? What can I do better to bring that, more into fruition? Which I can't say that word, but I hope you all know what I mean when I say that word.
I love the struggle with the word fruition. So hopefully that helps people.
That's it.
Good. Awesome. So Margie, you talked about early on in your share that you went to a women's only facility for sexual addiction. And had a bit of a hospitalization period, I guess, is what that would look like in recovery talk. Talk to us about that experience. Is that something you would recommend to others? Was it positive, absolutely, or what did it look like?
Absolutely. Wholeheartedly would recommend. It's called Bethesda. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. I actually had found out about it 11-ish years ago when I was first found out that I was addicted to sex. The counselor and I, with my husband and I, we worked through a book called Torn Asunder, to go through some of the healing process of the affair that we had. And in one of the resources in that was a book called No Stones, Women Redeemed from Sexual Addiction. And it's all by Marnie Feerine, I think it is. But that book, so I got that book and I read that book and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my life. There's another woman out there that's like me. And then as you look in the back of the book, there's a website. So I go to the website and it's a workshop. They have it for just men. They have it just for women. And they have different levels of the workshops. They also have it. So not do they have it just for the recovering addict, but they also have it for those that have been betrayed or hurt by the loved ones of the disease as well. And so when I went to that, I sure like nobody's going to be like me. Like this. But at this point I was willing to do whatever I needed to do, and to come to be in a group of women that were like me, that had the same struggles as me, was phenomenal, was absolutely amazing. So I would highly, highly recommend that for anyone and everyone, men and women. And what was so beautiful about that is that it wasn't just me, the addict, but there were other women there that were hurt by the addict. So we were separated, but there were sessions that we would come together, and to see the harm and the hurt that I had caused my husband through these women was another profound effect on me emotionally as well. And I know, because I still keep in contact with some of those women as well, to see from their perspective how we struggle with a disease was, I mean, at first you would think that's not a good mix. You should not do that. But it ended up being an absolutely beautiful mix of women together. So they have one for women, one for men, and then they also have one for couples as well. So both the men and the woman need to have gone to their own perspective session, but then you can go back together as a couple to restore and to heal even more. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. I would recommend that book. It was great.
Excellent. And I'll track down links to these books and to the facility there and put them in the show notes of the podcast, so that if anybody has any desire to check those out, you can do that by listening to the podcast. All right. So I'm just reading a possible question, and I'm going to have to come back to it here in just a minute. So what I'd like to ask you next is, Margie, what sorry, I got distracted. I had a phone call come in and a question come in all at the same time. So just a lot of things happened all at once. And yeah, exactly. Squirrel.
Squirrel. The hamster wheel.
This is where I was going to go. About 6.5 years ago, when I first started, when I changed my podcasting into more of a recovery podcasting career. Before that, it was not recovery based. It was just life based. And I interviewed a whole bunch of people from all different backgrounds about each of the 12 steps. And this was back in the end of 2019, early 2020. And a couple of people that I was introduced to were female sex and love and lust addicts. And I was blown away. I had no idea that women struggled with the same thing that I struggled with. And it opened my eyes to something that was very powerful. So what I'd like you to do is maybe share just a little bit more about your experience as a female with sexual addiction and what that the possible shame that goes along with that, but also the freedom that happens when you have fellowship with others. Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to Rico 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
Yeah. So I know early on in our marriage, I remember because of my husband's military career, he was set off for another deployment, and he had gotten this resource called Every Man's Battle. And it has a list of questions on there if you struggle with pornography and sex for men. And I remember reading those questions and answering yes to every single one of those. And I was like, there's something wrong with me. And because of the inappropriateness that we brought into the bedroom, porn, masturbation, voyeurism, expeditionism, as like my husband was like, no, everything is fine. Everything is fine, babe. Little did we know everything was not fine. Everything definitely was not fine. And I just thought I was the only one, especially having a little bit of a church background that I did. Like, I can't tell these people that I, as a woman, struggle with porn and these things. Like, no, that's a man thing. But yeah, lo and behold, as I dug deeper into it, there are more women that struggle with lust and sex that are willing to admit to it, that are even willing to admit that it is an issue because of the shame, because of guilt. So God has given me the sensitivity and the ability to be vulnerable in my story with other women. To be like, hey, if you struggle, like, you're not alone, because for so long I thought I was alone. And even going to that rehab center, there was only 4 of us for the addict side of things. But now coming into these rooms, seeing that there's so many more women out there, there is just a comfort and peace that I never thought could possibly be. But I also had the gift of desperation so bad, because I know I had friends who were like, well, you can't go to, a meeting with full of men. My sponsor was like, no, you need to go to a meeting full of men so you can learn to have appropriate relationships with men. And that is what these rooms have taught me, what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And there's that beauty. So I can have healthy relationships with men in and outside of the rooms that are healthy and that are good. Whereas I only knew how to have inappropriate ones or inappropriate thoughts of them. And now I have learned that no, they are a child of God, and they are not an object either. They're not an object. I would see them as objects. I would see them as inappropriate things, and that's not how God sees them, and that's not how I want to see them, nor do I want others to see them. I know when I went into to rehab too as well, I had shared my story of trauma, of abuse, and lusting, very on, experimenting with girls my age. And I remember being so angry, like, with my therapist there, because it was a CSAT person that I actually worked with, who was actually in SA2 and has worked the 12 steps, and which was wonderful. And being angry, like, I don't need to bring up my trauma. Like, I've brought my trauma before and nobody's done anything about it. And she's like, yeah, you're right. We're just going to ignore that, but you still need to sit down and you need to listen. And as we talked about different people's trauma and my trauma, I was like, wow, this all makes sense. Like, I was in the making. Like, I was just the perfect potion to become an addict, and it doesn't define me. And that's something that I want other women to understand too, is that there may be few and far between us, but it doesn't define us. It's just a piece of who we are. And there's no shame in it. There really isn't any shame in it whatsoever. God does not love me any less, does not care about me any less because I'm an addict. If anything, he just loves me even that much more. It's not my identity. I don't define as a sex addict. It's a piece of who I am. I have brown eyes. I have brown hair. I'm short. Those are all characteristics of me. I'm an addict. It's a characteristic of me. It doesn't define me. And that's what I want like other women to know too, is that like this does not define us. It's just a piece of who we are. But there's this beautiful gift of recovery that we can have and be in relationship with God.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to interject my own experience on this. My primary S fellowship is men with the men, women with the women, and never shall they cross. And while I understand that early in recovery that it can be helpful to be that way, I had to cross. I had to step into rooms with women, or I was just going to continue to see them as objects. I was just going to continue to see them as not human, not a child of God, just like me. And so that has been a major advancement in my own recovery, and a major insight that I've gained is that if I can't have a normal relationship and have a conversation with somebody, I'm in big trouble. Big trouble. So is there anything else on that you'd like to share? I think you did a great job, but if there's any other ideas that you had, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, no, my when I first came into the rooms, I thought I only needed women's only meetings. And my sponsor was adamant. She's like, absolutely not. You will wholeheartedly be in mixed meetings if you want me to continue to sponsor you. My sponsor was hardcore too. She said jump and I said how high. But she has years of sobriety and she had what I wanted. So yes, I was absolutely going to listen to everything that she said. And so she definitely encouraged and forced me to be in mixed meetings, but also was very wise into sharing with me too about women's only meetings. She's like, I've been a part of women's only meetings, and all they do is bash men and blame them for their disease and blame them for the addiction. She's like, that is not a healthy meeting. And if you come across a meeting like that, she's like, you need to leave because that's not healthy. And sure enough, I did. I had come across a couple of women's only meetings that was like that. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that. That's gossip, that's slander, that's staying in the problem, not being in the solution. And I need to be in the solution, not in the problem. I know what the problem is. That's a piece of cake for me. And so I now only go to mixed meetings. I very much steer away from women's only meetings because I don't know if they're going to be healthy or not. And from my recovery, I can't be in a non-healthy meeting. I have to be in a healthy meeting because otherwise it's just going to pull me back down under. And that's not a place that I want to go to.
Thank you for sharing that, Margie. And I hope that people out there that are listening, whether they be a woman who's struggling with sexual addiction and just is ashamed and doesn't think they have anywhere to go, there's places to go. Whether you're somebody who's like, I have to be men only, women only, there's options to, and there's healthy options to get there and stop seeing people as objects.
Yeah.
Because we're all humans.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
One other question that I have for you here that I'd love to jump in with you on is, you mentioned just because I have a thought or a feeling, I think is how you put it, doesn't mean I have to act on it. I hear a lot of people will say, well, I was triggered. I had a temptation. I had this feeling and there was no choice. I had to act on it. Talk to me a little bit about maybe the learning of finding a time or creating a time between that trigger, that feeling, that temptation, and a response or a walking away.
Yeah. So my grand sponsor will always say, if you call her and, oh, what are you doing? Oh, sitting with my feelings, just sitting there. And I was always intrigued by that because if I'm feeling it, I have to do it. I have to act on it. Like, I don't know how not to act on it. But being in the recovery, being in the rooms has taught me that pause, that moment, whether I'm triggered or whatever. I have that thought, okay, I have a choice. I can either act on that thought or I can take it to God and surrender it to God first. And if I take it and time and time again, I have that thought, I have that feeling, I have that whatever it is, that urge to do something. If I just take that 5 and turn it over to God. Now, I might have to turn it over to God like over and over and over and over and over again, but eventually I'm surrendering it to God, and then he's the one that takes that from me and then replaces it with something else. If I'm constantly surrendering it and it's still there and I'm still triggered and I'm still having the thought, then I have the tools. Okay, I need to call my sponsor. Or I need to make a phone call to somebody else, because we're only as sick as our secrets. And so if I keep that thought deep inside of me in that darkness, that's what my disease wants. It wants to hold on to me to stay in the darkness. But as soon as I bring that thought into the light, it doesn't have the power over me like it did before. And so I'll surrender to it and over and over. And if that doesn't help, then I'm making that phone call. And if I make that phone call and then that doesn't help, then I'm jumping onto a meeting as well. So then I can share it with a group or with somebody else, because otherwise it's just going to continue to fester and stay inside of me. And like I said, we're only as sick as our secrets. And that's where our disease wants to hold us captive. Our disease wants to keep those secrets within us because it has power on us. Once we bring it to light, it doesn't have the power like it used to.
Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support, or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead. Man, I love that line. What you doing? I'm sitting with my feelings. I'm going to steal that. That is going to go into my repertoire of responses, as long as I truly am sitting with my feelings. But no, that's good stuff. I love
and that's good. Like I can now feel my feelings. I can feel grief. I can feel sadness. I can feel sorrow. I can feel these things and just feel them. And it'd be okay. Like a couple years ago, we sent our youngest son off to college, and oh my gosh, you would have thought like he had just deserted us and end all communications and everything with us. And the way I was bawling in the truck, my husband looked at me. He's like, "Do you think he's abandoned us or we've abandoned him?" And it was like, oh my gosh, yes. I feel that I have abandoned him or that he's abandoning me, when everything that we've done, we've raised him right. He's in a good college. He's in a good school. He's going to do great things. He's doing everything that he's supposed to do, but yet I'm feeling abandoned. And it was like, okay, I just need to sit with this now and know that it's okay, but know that my God has him and it has him where he wants to be. And it's okay. I don't have to go run and act out and have sex with another man to make me feel better. I can just sit here with it and be like, okay. And then I did, and then it went away. And it was like, all right, let's continue on.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, who knew?
Who knew?
Great. Thank you for sharing these experiences, Margie. Do you have any final words of wisdom before we wrap up?
Just keep working the steps. I know people get frustrated, they have relapses, or they're not having their spiritual awakenings or whatever it is. Just know that everybody's recovery and everybody's walk is different. And that's the beauty of recovery. And that's the beauty of the rooms, to hear everybody's experience, strength, and hope, to hear what they've gone through and the tools that they've used that help them. Just keep working it. It is truly worth it. Like it really is, like it says in the 12-step promises, it is worth it. And it's worth the work. It's worth the hard work. I know there were many of times doing my step 4 that I was like, nope, I'm done. I do not want to do this anymore. I do not need to reveal any more ugliness about me. But knowing that my sponsor was still there and still loving and still kind and was like, yeah, been there. Yeah, been there. Oh yeah, I felt that too. Knowing there was nothing I could say or do to scare her away from me was more comfort than I ever thought. So continue to work the steps. Don't give up on the steps. Don't give up on the program, and don't give up on yourself, because you're just like we always say, work it because you're worth it. And you are so incredibly worth it. And having that relationship with a loving and wonderful God is so far better than anything else that we could ever have here on this planet.
Thank you so much, Margie, for an amazing RICO 12 speaker meeting. You did a great job, and I'm grateful to have you here. If we missed anybody's question out here in the live audience, or if you're in the listening audience out there and you have a question that you'd like to pose to Margie, send an email to me at rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll get that lined up. Or even better, jump in our WhatsApp community and ask the question there. We'll have people that in the community that will be happy to share their experience, strength, and hope on those questions. If you haven't done so yet, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast in Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen. It's a powerful way to work Step 12 and share this recovery with others. Come back next week as we continue this march into speaker meetings. We get to hear from Liza L., who's been a speaker on a couple of meetings previously, and she was actually a one-time substitute host on RICO 12, and I'm grateful to have her as a speaker this next week. Her general topic will be Step 11, personal revelation type stuff, so grateful to have her coming in. Her energy is always amazing. Stay updated on WhatsApp or our email list. If you're not yet on the email list, send me an email, rico12pod@gmail.com. I'll get you on the email list real quick. All right, as we close out, Margie would like to close us out with the third step prayer. Go ahead, Margie, whenever you're ready.
All right, thanks so much, Justin. All right, let's take a moment of silence. Once again, for those that are not in the rooms that need to be in these rooms. And then we'll, if you all want to unmute and say the third step prayer together, I would absolutely love that. All right, moment of silence. Go ahead, unmute, third step prayer. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me, and to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Your will. Take away my difficulties, victory over them.
Yes. Bear witness
to those I would help with your power, your love, and your way of life.
May I do thy will always. Awesome. Thank you so much, Margie. That was awesome. All right, everybody. Remember, there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back. And when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
It ain't about the body, it ain't about the skin. It's the lie that whisper you'll be whole if you give in. It's the high before the hollow, the click before the fall. It's the ache that never satisfies no matter what you saw. They told me it was natural, just boys being boys, but I was choking down poison dressed up like a choice, and now I'm calling it by name. No more hiding in the fog. It ain't just porn I'm fighting, it's the God I made of want. Porn of problem. Lust is the thief, selling us heaven and leaving us grief. I wanted to love, but I learned how to crave. Now I'm digging through ashes and calling it brave. She ain't an object and I ain't a king. Porn is the problem, not just a thing. And what about her? Yeah, the other side. The girl who learned early she was worth what she supplied. She didn't want to be seen, she wanted to be wanted. Now she's starved for attention and Instagram haunted. It's the hunger to be lusted, mistaken for love. And both sides end up empty, beneath and above. Two mirrors cracked, reflecting shame, chasing validation instead of names. Porn is the problem. It sells a fake cure, turns humans to products, makes touch feel impure. We thought we were free, but we're slaves in disguise, scrolling through bodies with dead in our eyes. This ain't just a screen, it's a spiritual war. Porn is the problem, and we can't ignore. I want more than a moment behind a glassy screen. I want covenant, not dopamine. She ain't here for my escape. She's the temple, not the bait. Porn is the problem, but truth is the light. I'm learning to see her with heaven in sight. I'm laying down idols, I'm turning from shame. And love don't come cheap, it comes with a name. I ain't cured, but I'm done with the game. Porn is the problem, and I'm not the same. I used to worship lust. Now I'm learning how to love.